Welcome back to our series. I'm Travis Brashear with Lockton out of our Houston office. We're talking about people solutions. And as I've said multiple times, you're probably tired of hearing it at this point, we're introducing you to people behind the scenes at Lockton, but we're also introducing you to concepts, things that we're working on, and some of the tools and resources that we use to help our clients in this space. So we're going to talk today, we'll call it sort of the voice of the people, for lack of a better term, but we're honored to have Raji Kumar with us out of our Dallas office. And Raji, we're gonna let you tell us about what we're doing to help our clients sort of hear the voice of their employees, and then what do we do once we have that information to get us down the path of the, because I want to talk about, because I find this really fascinating, the employee sentiment analysis is we're looking at public information, comments that have been made on the internet, if that's the right way to say it, right, on specific sites. You have to have a certain number of people to make that statistically valid to a degree, or have enough comments. But we're literally, what your team is doing is looking at these sites and finding comments about how employees think or feel about their employer. Is that a fair way to say what this is?
Absolutely, yes. So think of this as an unsolicited way of getting feedback, where your employees are providing their experience and thought process and commentary on online platforms, many social media platforms that are non-private, that are more targeted towards talent acquisition or just in general employee-employer experience in that engagement, platforms. And LinkedIn is a great example for that. Somebody with a personal experience and has had a phenomenal experience with their employer and would like to leave a comment online and say, hey, my employer is awesome. And the benefits they provide is just top notch, and they truly care about their employees. They're passionate about bringing people together, and that's the kind of feedback. And it's not always so well thought out and praised online, but there are some critical commentary that we come across. I mean, it is publicly available. What we are trying to do is consolidate all of that, because imagine if you're not just a smaller firm or a larger firm, unless you have some dedicated bandwidth and a resource to be able to spend time looking into it, they have us to do that background for them.
So you don't need this capability.
Exactly.
We can do it for you.
Yeah. So when we look through, over a period of time, and fluctuations might vary. They might have gone through a lot of, I would say, transformation over time. Every business goes through that. I mean, I think post-pandemic, most businesses have gone through some level of transformation. So we keep our analysis relevant to the time frame that is more appropriate for that conversation.
The last couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah. And talk about the categories a little bit, because I find this sort of fascinating. When we talk about this, we're talking about people.
Yes.
It's related to HR and benefits and the way that they think about it. But what are sort of the 4 or 5 categories that we're sort of measuring as we go here?
Yeah. So I think it really comes down to relevance of the type of engagement that we are having with our clients. Now, let's say they are our primary benefits related client, then the topic of conversation is so different. You want to make sure that, are their employees feeling satisfied with the benefits that's being received? Are they being expressive about their concerns? What is not meeting their expectations? So that we can try and reduce that gap if there is enough room.
Pay time off, or pay, or lack of bonuses, or forced to work overtime. Those are the type of comments.
Those are the type of comments, yes. But for clients that are simply looking to get ancillary services and employee engagement, then we look at areas such as workplace stress, culture, diversity. Some people might feel so strongly about diversity as an example, which is such a hot topic that most employers are trying to get into the space, trying to get ahead of the curve to make sure that their employees feel safe mentally and physically in the workplace. But if it's benefits related, we do look at paid time off, vacation as an example. Family leave oftentimes comes up as a big topic. Compensation, for sure. Those are some of the basics we look at, benefits and compensation.
And let HR go back to the executive team and say, you may think you have a well thought out strategy, but it's not working its way down to the employee population. I mean,
bottom line comes down to employer's brand.
Right.
They might be doing wonderful things internally, but if it's not getting communicated properly, the outside world or through social media, which is a big component of today's world, how people view things,
Right.
you don't want that skewed. You want an accurate picture of who you are being represented online and your brand.
And your employees are actually sort of the front line for that.
Yes.
If they don't know,
Exactly.
then you're clearly, your clients or your
Yeah.
customers don't know. How effective is this tool? What would you use it for? Is this directional? Is it corroborating? Is it in place of doing surveys? Like, let's just focus on this employee sentiment analysis tool. How would you put it in play? What would you do with the information?
This is basically a starting point, as we call it. It helps you identify blind spots, things that you might not be aware of how your brand is being showcased online in social media,
Okay.
as an example. So you might be doing wonderful, strategy and great work internally, but if it's truly not reflecting online, so it either proves or disproves what you've been trying to put in front of your employees.
Okay.
Basically, that's the bottom line. And it's truly directional. We don't tell them anything where this is concrete, this is done deal, you cannot reverse it. That's not at all the type of conversation. I mean, most people get intrigued by the fact that, how did we miss that? How do we rectify this? What can we do that will positively bring out all the good things that we provide for our employees, right? Now, that's where I see the success of this tool, is just truly identifying those blind spots. And the follow-on step might be as simple as doing a survey. Right? How do we connect today's reality to your strategy and give you meaningful information with backed up with data?
Yeah.
And bottom line, it really comes down to that information.
Yeah.
You have your current pool of cohort of employees, and what has been said online is a good mix of past and current employees. So obviously, sentiment changes over time. And can we marry up the data by conducting either a focus group or a survey, or what does that next step look like?
Yeah.
And that's a conversation that we usually have. Let me share a success story that we have had, where we did an employee sentiment analysis on a company, a group of companies, and the hot topic that we figured out was communication and paid time off. Those rose to the top, amongst other factors that we do look at, but those are two areas that their HR team, it's a fairly mid-sized team, and they've been sporadically hearing like water cooler talks and feedbacks, and just questions around, how do I take my family leave, or how do I go through a parental leave, as an example. So to sort of give them the full picture, they needed information with data to go in front of their leadership team and say, could we look at a different strategy? Or we may probably need a third-party help, as an example, to come in and help us to structure this in a way that is more appropriate and more easy to understand to our employees.
Right.
And that resulted in a survey where we knew exactly which areas to target, thanks to the ESA that we had done on the brand prior. Yeah. And there was no surprise in the data, because it absolutely corroborated what we had seen. But now they have, with statistical validity, to take in front of their leadership team, and of course we helped them model the dollar amounts that would go with it too.
Right.
Now they have not just the data, but futuristic planning. Here's what the budget would look like if we wanted to make these changes, and here's what the ROI would look like if we had made these changes. This is what our advantages of implementing them is going to look like.
Yeah.
And that was an easy enough conversation for them to have, because we armed them with enough information to go
Just
have that.
Having the data makes you credible,
Yeah.
right? Thanks so much for sharing it with us and for what you do with us or for us every day. Really appreciate you being here. If you're listening online or watching this video and you're interested in the employee sentiment analysis or finding more about what employees are saying about your company out there, now you can reach out to Raji or
Absolutely.
I, and we can help you with that. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the next episode.